Hey, welcome to another Climbing Noise podcast episode. My name is Tyler, and this time I got to sit down with Colin Squire, who's one of the most exciting boulderers to watch in any finals here in the Northeast. Colin is mostly known for his exciting antics in any bouldering round finals, but you can also catch him out in the woods in Massachusetts, where he's from. He recently sent a pretty hard boulder called Full-Sized Man. We talk a lot about how much fun he had in that projecting process and the ways that he prioritizes fun in his climbing in general. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Let me know in the comments what you think. Be sure to subscribe and enjoy. Squire, young gun who always keeps it interesting for us at every comp, every finals, every skating or climbing video on Instagram. Always a good time. Colin, what's going on, man? Thanks for joining us.
Dude, thanks for having me. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, man. You know, it's Climbing Noise. It's all about all things that are fun and exciting with climbing and in the climbing world and the comp scene especially. And I think you're probably one of the best showmen in any comp finals that I see. Always fun to see you there.
I mean, that's a lot of it, right? If you're not having fun, then why are you doing it, right?
Yeah, dude.
I like to enjoy every moment of it. You know what I'm saying? I go out, kind of forget about everything, have a good time, just try the boulders. Have a good time. That's what it's really about for me.
Dude, good. Yeah. It shows, and we'll talk a little bit about feats of strength and some of the other stuff, but let's rewind. We were just talking about the first time that we met. To my knowledge, the first time we met was at the Rock Club 2-ish years ago. I'm going to say 2023, something like that. We were both in finals for the Rock Classic. That was my first ever finals, and we were both rocking pit vipers and eating gummy bears in ISO.
That carried through the comp. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah,
dude. I think maybe the worst my skin has ever been.
Yeah, that's always such a huge battle, especially there. They definitely bring out some of the new holds for finals, but it's rough.
Yeah, the Rock Club finals is always so sick. I completely ripped 2 pads off on I want to say it was Boulder 3. It was that paddle. I bled everywhere.
I can't even go remember. I mean, what was the one? I can't remember the boulders too well. Because I try to get that one every year.
Yeah, I mean, it was it was a big moment for me, one of my only finals moments, a blip on the radar for you. Yeah, fingers crossed. I had one here in Amsterdam back in the fall. For people that don't know you, I would say why. But can you give us, basic climber interview stats? Can you say, where you're from, how long you've been climbing, how you started, all that normal stuff?
Yeah, my name is Colin Squire. I have been climbing basically my whole life. Both my parents are climbers. They've been climbing since college. My whole family climbs. My brother climbs. My sister climbs. My dog's learning how to climb. I climb outside mostly up to 8B at the moment, V13 for us Americans. Let's see, I've competed since the very beginning. I started in male D. It's different now, and I don't compete in the youth circuit anymore. I'm 19, I guess I should say that. Yeah, I competed all the way. I took a couple years break in the middle somewhere just to skate and do some other stuff.
Yeah, that would be U13 now.
Came back more psyched than ever. Started competing again. Met Tyler. Got psyched. Yeah, I always like to climb outside, check out new areas, develop new stuff. All things climbing. I'm all for it.
Shout out. What's your home gym? What's your home crag?
Yeah, shout out CRG Hadley, Central Rock Gym. Maybe not gonna make you the best climber in the world, but it's got every resource you would ever need to get really strong. And then the local crag, shout out Farley, Massachusetts. No guidebook, notorious. You gotta know the locals. And it's there's so much rock there. People have scoped pretty much every line you could possibly think of. And there's just so much history there about these old stories of these crazy people that came out in negative temperatures and did this crazy boulder. And that's what gets me psyched, the story behind it.
Yeah, man. The obviously a couple Northeast kids, I think we have this this reputation and maybe this thing that we take pride in of really having the grit to get out and get after it when it's below zero and go and really, I feel like you really got to earn your boulders in the Northeast. You got to earn your points. Nothing's a gimme. Let's touch on USA climbing for a second, or let's talk about the youth competitive circuit or kind of where that focus lies for you for a minute. USA climbing is a massive part of most youth climbers' journeys at this point in the game. For you, you're somebody who took a step away from it for a minute, and that can be, I'm going to say, risky for some people. I feel like when people step away, a lot of people lose psych, but it sounds like it was an important mental break for you. Is that like, were you feeling burnt out when you decided to step away?
I think that's a incredible way to say it, actually. I mean, when you're training really, really hard, it's hard to stay motivated sometimes, depending on where your motivation lies, I think. And I think there's like an increasing pressure for youth climbers to like really work hard. But for me, I just wanted to enjoy the sport, because I think for me there was a lot more enjoyment in climbing as a whole than just specifically climbing competitions, specifically USA climbing competitions, I suppose. And I think it was really hard, especially when I was way younger, to go to the gym 4 days a week, do all these workouts, and still enjoy it. When, I mean, I was so young, I didn't really know, like, I didn't have the expanded horizon I do now, maybe, about all this other stuff you could do in climbing. It's not just competing. And I think taking a step away really opened up my perspective to experience different kinds of climbing, whether it be trad, or it be like, I don't know, some stuff that maybe these youth kids don't know about.
Yeah, man. My prediction is that 2025 is the year of the sport renaissance. I think you're going to see a lot of the top climbers, especially coming out of the Northeast. I think people are about to get really psyched on ropes. I think our boulders are absolutely top notch, but
Sure.
I'm really psyched on Rumney right now, and I think a lot of people are too. So
That makes
let's
two
get
of
you
us.
on a rope, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sick. All right. Yeah, we'll meet up at Rumney.
Yeah.
This is so. I've spoken with Bryce, Peter Torphy, and now you, and I think this is just my way of
Outside.
inviting strong people to Rumney with me.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I mean, the density there of like difficulty is, you can't find it many places. Like, seriously.
No,
I mean,
it like
I'm out in,
Rumney is this like hidden gem. I know. I think Magos has been there once, but Dave Graham, yeah, obviously FA'd half the stuff there, but it's a little bit slept on. People know about the red, they know about the new, and everything out west is obviously lapped on. But Rumney's got some hard stuff, and like everything up to 515. That's pretty rad.
and there's still projects to go, you know?
Yeah.
Who's not there
Dude,
yet? I mean,
when I think about kind of your climbing style, or like the energy that you bring to a comp, or like what you even look like on the wall, I think of you as a rocket ship. Like everything is moving at like 1,000,000 miles an hour. You're blasting as hard as you can for every move. Your psych is always through the roof. And I think part of a rocket ship's double-edged sword is, besides all that incredible lift that you have, you can also burn through fuel pretty quick. So it's good to hear that you were willing to take a step back from the competitive circuit and focus on the things that add fuel to your tank rather than take it away. I think that's a very mature thing to do that a lot of people would definitely struggle with. But it sounds like for you, climbing has been, one of the things in your life that has been a source of enjoyment. So you mentioned skating. It sounds like climbing is also a family event. For people who don't know, your brother Brian Squire, competent climber.
you should probably know him.
Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah, he's okay.
Yeah, multiple V14 ascents. Like he's climbed V15.
Yeah, a couple.
Yeah, multiple V15 ascents. Yeah, his tick list is not coming to mind at the moment. But we're here to talk about you. Can you run us through? I think you recently put down Roses and Blue Jays, Northeast test piece.
Yeah,
the V13 standard.
Amazing.
I want to spend a little bit of time on that, but can you kind of run us through?
Yeah.
Do you remember the first boulder that you ever projected outside?
First boulder I ever projected. That's hard, honestly. That is a difficult question, but one does come to mind, which was kind of weird. At Farley, there's a notorious climb called Full Size Man, which is the sit start to a super classic V11 called Mid-Size Man. And I was there with my brother. I think he was on like winter break or something like that, and I did the stand like second try, and I was super super psyched. And I was like, oh, I'll just do the sit another day. Like probably won't be that hard. It's only like what 3 4 moves into it. Super super chill, right? And then I think 10 sessions later on the sit, after probably like a year of maybe not trying it like every time I went to Farley, but kind of like off and on, just seeing where I was at. It was totally a test piece for me. Just like compression being something I'm probably not the best at in comparison to other styles. Maybe not something where my strengths completely lie. Definitely tested me and brought my projecting all the way to the limit. And then when I sent the boulder, my brother was also home on spring break, but different time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool that your brother was there for like the start and the finish, and you got to kind of solo quest the in between.
Oh,
Yeah, so Full Size
totally.
Man,
Yeah.
obviously a monster. Roses and Blue Jays at Great Barrington. How long was that process for you?
That one only really took like 2 controlled sessions. Um, I tried it a long time ago when the infamous Ben Kim did it in a single sesh long ago. Local crusher. If you don't know him, you should.
Yeah, the for anybody who doesn't know, he just campused Roses and Blue Jays.
Nuts. Yeah, but I was checking it out with him. Didn't really try it too much, I want to say, but it was a while ago. Can't remember too much. And then I went back probably a year later. Did all the moves in like 2 overlapping sections. I was like, oh, I can totally go back do this. Got psyched on other things, a lot of distractions, and then went back early as I possibly could this year. There was still snow on the ground. Gave it like a little brush, made sure it was good, and then just kind of ripped it, and it was all lined up, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty notorious. Or you are not the first person to have your camera roll down the hill while sending. Um,
That was crazy.
yeah. You know
High
your gram is going to
winds.
be
It
linked
was
in the
like
bio, but the for anybody who hasn't seen it, it's such beautiful footage of like you like hitting a move and your camera just tumbling away. That's so good.
well, actually, I think it was like 2 different slides, but yeah. Same. It was like in the same role, I think. Yeah.
So good.
Such.
Um, so the Roses and Blue Jays, the for people that have never touched it, it's like pretty I'm gonna say juggy crimps. Like they're all fairly
Yeah.
in cut, but
Yeah.
the boulder's like at least 50 degrees, maybe somewhere like
Something like
closer to
that. Yeah.
55. It's pretty steep, pretty powerful. The you're a pretty powerful guy, pretty notorious board crusher. I feel like I'm all over the place, but I'm curious for somebody like you, the you seem like the guy who rocks up like rolls out of bed, shakes off the rust, and is able to 159 off the couch. I'm sure that that's not true. Can you can you talk about what climbing looks like in your life these days? You built this massive foundation in climbing as a
Yeah.
kid, right? And I think that can't be understated. Like there is clearly some genetic component that's in your family that allows for high end crushing, but these days, where do
Yeah.
you spend the most of your time? Where do you feel like you get the most value out of training?
Yeah. So training for me has always been like something that's been actually really interesting for me. Something I've struggled with a lot to find like what works for me, because the same thing simply just does not work for everyone. Which, I mean, you could say you hope it does, or like this training plan will get you stronger. Like, sure, but is it actually going to make you like a better climber? As I think like the real question at the end of the day. So I've tried like all kinds of things across years and years and years of just trial and error, I suppose, and just what sticks, what I like, and then I'm just not going to do the stuff that doesn't seem like it's working. So I've
Yeah.
tried like a few different coaching things. Even my brother's written me a training plan, which I tried. I've done the weightlifting. I've done just like stuff on the campus board, but more specifically, I found that board climbing always comes back to board climbing, which, I mean, some people want to hear it, some people don't, but I think it is true that is probably one of the best places to get really, really strong, specifically for the outdoor styles of climbing. And I mean, as well as inside. It can train you for everything. But just pulling on like small crimps and testing things at your absolute limit is just, I think, what gets me not only psyched but also gets me stronger.
Adam Shahar, seems like anybody who climbs in that, I'm gonna say like V12 and above range, the vast majority of people in that territory value board climbing kind of above everything else, with exceptions. The for the dedicated sport climbers, maybe the answer is something more endurance based. For the people that are maybe have a bit more of a deficit in physicality and need a little bit more of that lifting in their life, could be more important. But for people at home, I think, yeah, getting on the board and really being ready to throw down can't be underestimated. I do think, like, from a coaching perspective, I think that advice suits high end climbers really, really well. And for the majority of people who are, let's say, in the V5 and below range, unless it's the kilter at 20 degrees, they probably need a lot of time for their fingers to adapt to be able to hold on to any of the holds on a tension board, or they probably have so much to learn on basic commercial setting that for them to get on the board just probably is the way that they're going to beeline to injury rather than beelining to learning. So if you're somebody at home, I think hearing board climbing is the most important thing is this generation's version of, well, Sharma doesn't train. Back in the day, for anybody who is not my age, nobody trained. People looked down on training because Chris Sharma didn't train and he was the best in the world, and nobody understood that he didn't train because he was the exception. He didn't need to train. But I digress.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's like, I mean, super important conversation is that maybe board climbing isn't the best for you. Like, there is so many ways to get strong, and maybe it will be the best way for you eventually, which I think is like a key thing to say. Because the commercial sets are probably where I learn the most about like body movement and not how to use like my muscles per se. Like, climb very like fluidly, climb well, climb like intentionally is a like big word that I've been trying to use more recently. I mean, I'm out in Salt Lake City right now at gyms I've never been to, and I'm having more fun on the commercial sets than I am on climbing on any board, just because it's all new. It's not things I've done before. It's a different style of climbing. Every setter sets in a different style that you can learn from. But I think if you're under maybe like V7 climber, it's really, really beneficial to just train on these commercial sets and build up that base level of strength doing not only just commercial climbing, but if you're psyched to get like super strong, you kind of have to put in like a little extra effort beyond just climbing, which for me at that point, whenever I'm coming off of maybe like a little break from climbing, I'm not like super just like pulling strong. I'll do probably one of the easiest workouts you can possibly do, which I'm about to like reveal the secret to climb double digits right now. But it's a workout I think Brian actually brought up to me one time, which is called nickels and dimes. Which, Tyler, do you know about this?
I'm aware.
This
Please
is a
let the people
classic.
at home know about nickels and
Okay.
dimes.
Well, if you don't, now you do. It's 5 pull-ups and 10 push-ups every minute to the minute, which means that if I start doing a pull-up at, say, 10 minutes, I do my 5, taking however long I want, and then I do 10 push-ups right after, taking as long as I want. If I do it within that minute, I get the rest of the minute to rest. And at the top of the next minute, you just start again. And you do that for 10 minutes. I don't know if I said that in the best way, but maybe you get the idea, yeah. But man, if you want to get strong, do that for like a month or two straight. You will like get strong. And it's so easy to modify with just like adding weight, doing it on crimps. You can do it on a door frame. It's like, it's so easy to do. And modify, important, yeah.
Yeah. Like, do what is appropriate for you. Banded for
Sure.
those pull-ups or push-ups from the knees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do 3
man,
pull-ups.
that's
Do
so
like
funny.
whatever you need to do.
I don't know, I don't know if you've ever seen One Punch Man
for all my anime
No.
heads out there. But there's this moment where he reveals what training he did to become the strongest thing that's ever existed in the galaxy, and it's 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10K run every day. And everyone's like, "How did that make you the strongest thing in the world?" That's what you just that's what you just did, man.
Yeah.
Nickels and dimes.
I expect everyone to start climbing double digits now. Everyone.
Yeah.
No exceptions.
Step one is to have Squire genetics. Step two is nickel and dimes. That's so
I mean,
rad,
this isn't
man. I
the
love it.
sequel, but it definitely will help, you know?
A common theme that we've gotten to today, and I feel like every time we talk, is what keeps you really psyched. And you're somebody who is, I'm going to say, protective over your psych. Like you're willing to step away from stuff if the psych isn't there to make sure that you're not completely draining the tank. Right now, as we're sitting here in March of 2025, you're out on a climbing trip right now. What are the things that are getting you the most psyched, like climbing or otherwise?
Yeah. Super like deep question, I think. And there's like so many different layers to it, which is really interesting, I think. But right now, I think what's getting me psyched is climbing film, which is like something that I'm increasingly like more and more interested in by the week, day, month, whatever. Like seeing what these maybe not even local people, like I'm usually on the East Coast, seeing what all the crushers out west are doing, like is so inspiring. And I mean, not even just in the US, like there's so many cool things happening all around the globe in climbing, which just gets me so psyched. But as you said, it is hard to stay psyched. That is like one of the hardest things, especially in off seasons. Maybe conditions aren't good. Maybe you're stuck at home or just going to like your local gym and you're like, damn, this sucks. um, but I mean, like, knowing when to step away for me was probably one of the most important things to like learn about myself. Because if I just keep climbing all the time and that's all I do, I will just start to, I mean, simply just dislike climbing, which it kind of like sucks because you would love to just like stay into something with like your full heart all the time. But for me, that kind of like killed my enjoyment of the sport. And I would much rather enjoy climbing for the rest of my life and maybe not train every single day of the week as hard as I can and like I don't know, lose interest in the sport, I suppose, is the other side of that.
For sure, man. Yeah. I think this is the training, like golden age of climbing going on right now, where everybody is obsessed with here I go coming after my own wallet, but everybody needs their coach, they need their plan, they need their hangboard routine, and they're obsessed with getting the next grade or the next benchmark or whatever it is that is next on their list. I think a lot of people are missing the value of how important it is to go and have fun with your friends or like just enjoy sessioning on the kilter because you enjoy sessioning on the kilter and not feeling like you have to go on the commercial set because you need to work on this thing. If your goal is to genuinely enjoy what it is that you're doing, then you're going to show up more and you're probably going to progress. There's a certain amount that you probably have to sacrifice. Some things that are, let's call it like the most fun in climbing maybe is the dyno that that you really want to get when you should really be somebody who's working on your footwork, something like that. But for the most part, I think more people would be progressing and climbing faster if they weren't just banging their head against the wall hangboarding all the time, you know? And it takes a certain level of, I'm going to say, like bravery to admit that maybe training isn't the thing that gets you psyched. Maybe the thing that gets you psyched is like making up a silly, goofy time boulder with the squad and just enjoying.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like a super interesting, this is maybe a different topic as well, but like the mental side of climbing, which is such a deep hole for, I mean, all sorts of reasons as well. But like, if your mental is like the strongest, like I'm thinking like, I don't know, who has like a really strong mental off the top of my head? Like you could say Adam Ondra, just because like so much experience, so much like, I don't know, been around. He knows how to climb really, really well. Like, if your mental is in this like perfect state every time you go to the gym, you are gonna have good session after good session after good session. But if you leave the gym after maybe not sending your projects for like the third day in a row, and you're like, oh my god, I hate this this sucks, and you go to the gym with that same kind of mindset the next day or whenever you go to the gym next, it's like hard to have a good session, from what I've realized in my personal experience. But if you go and you're happy to be there and you're like present, and it doesn't just go for indoor climbing. This is outdoor climbing. This is, you could do whatever you want. Honestly, it doesn't even have to be just climbing. But if you go and you have like this positive mindset of like, I'm just gonna try my best. I'm gonna have a good time, no matter what happens. Even if I fall off a V6 slab for 10 minutes out of my day, and I usually do this first try. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of random examples, but it's like if you enjoy the process, you can go really far in climbing, which I think is like
For sure.
bottom line.
I think something for the people at home who are trying to figure out how to apply this to their own climbing, a lot of it is being mindful of your thoughts and how you're feeling. And if you find yourself getting frustrated from falling off of the V3 slab that you're supposed to be warming up on, taking that as an opportunity of, oh man, like this is a great opportunity for me to learn how to do this V3 again, and it being in love with the process of taking on each challenge, not as a hit to your ego or a sign that you're never going to be a great climber, but as an opportunity to grow. That's Adam Andra when he was like 19 was training 8 days a week and still had his self-made haircut. And there's like this long training video that Epic TV made, and the first thing he says is, when I fall, it's either an excuse to try harder or to come back stronger. And I think so many people would do well with that mindset.
I just to shoot back in, just like example. I mean, I was in Vegas a couple days ago, and unfortunately we got rained out. But for the time I was there, I was like really psyched on doing like the 3 big 12s in Black Velvet Canyon, which if you don't know, that's where like the infamous Sleepwalker is. That's where Abaddon, this like ultra classic, maybe 11/12 is. But these amazing quality outdoor boulders. But anyway, I was there and I was like, I'm going to start with like the easiest one. I'm just going to do Abaddon. And I got it after a few goes, really, really psyched. But I was really tired going to like try this next boulder. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to try this. I think in the guidebook it was like V4 to V8 or V4/8. And I was like, okay, well, this could go like any sort of way, right? And I try it. First like 6 goes, I'm just getting spit off of this like V6 slab or whatever it was. And I was like, dang, what is happening right now? This is like really not good. And then eventually just like some more people pulled up. I had to like really just like change my mindset and be like, okay, it's not just about doing this wicked hard V4 alleged like killer slab. And then I don't know, after like 30 something attempts, I eventually got it. But that took way more effort than this V11/12, which is like notoriously hard. But there's some hidden hard stuff out there that can really kick you,
Dude, when the Ice Pond guidebook came out, I grew up 15 minutes from Ice Pond, and I have spent a ton of time there. And then the guidebook came out, and all of a sudden there's 100 boulders that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
And I just spent a day running around trying all the V3s and getting absolutely spit out and shut down. And it's the most fun climbing day that I've had in the last like 3 years.
Oh, that's awesome.
Including days that I've sent projects, just getting shut down on V3 for a day because it was all brand new in this environment that I love and I'm super comfortable in, and just like laughing at myself at falling off of V3. It was so much fun and such a great refresher from all my like 10 to 12 project,
Yeah.
Getting shut down on something that is supposed to be easy for you, which doesn't exist, but like getting shut down on something easy is so much fun if you let it be fun and not frustrating.
Yeah. It can be like humbling and fun at the same time, which I really like.
Yeah. So rained out of Vegas, unfortunate. We're in Salt Lake at the moment. Are you going to be getting outside while you're there?
Tomorrow, yes, there is this V13 that Brian was really psyched on, and when he's psyched, it gets me psyched. The people around me always get me psyched. I can't remember exactly what it's called, to be honest, which is maybe not the best info, but I should have done more research. It's 13, super crimpy. Allison Vest did it, I think, like 10 years ago. It's been around. If you don't know, Allison Vest, strongest fingers in the game, has so many insane benchmarks for finger strength.
I think she's regularly block pulling over 200 pounds.
Yeah, on like the daily.
Yeah. I think that's like a warm-up weight for her is basically double body weight. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
So yeah, going and trying maybe this unnamed 13 out of the homeland, out of the Northeast, kicked out of one area due to weather, in a new area, rolling with it, trying to get on something that the crew is psyched on. Do you have any, the term expectations gets thrown around, especially World Cup climbers who are like really managed to go in without expectations and find my flow, the most cliche comp climber Instagram post of all time. But is there anything kind of that you maybe expect from yourself is the wrong word, but is there kind of a goal that you have in your head, maybe like a quality standard that you set for yourself? Like how are you making sense of kind of goal setting on this trip that keeps changing on you?
Actually, that like connects almost way too much into what me and Brian were just talking about the other day, which, I mean, no, great job. But we went into, I mean, this is actually when I was falling off that V6, and I was like, wow, like I'm getting my butt kicked right now. And I feel like I've done all this preparation to go on this like super epic trip in Vegas and do all these hard boulders. And I think I set this like really high standard for myself, which is like really daunting sometimes. And honestly, it's like kind of a challenging subject to like think about in your own head, for me at least. Sometimes it's difficult for me to like set these high goals, high standards for myself, and then not meet them is kind of like really like demoralizing. So something I think I've thought about recently more than ever is like what are reasonable goals, and like what is like a good goal in climbing. Because if all of my goals are like grade related, or like maybe pulling 250 pounds on a crimp like Allison Vest, like some of those goals can be like slightly unrealistic. And there's so many things outside of your control, like the conditions, like being rained out, like that's like I couldn't have controlled that. I think knowing what is within your reach is like super important. I know I'm going like so off topic maybe, but like I said, setting good goals is really important. And knowing how to meet them is almost more important than that. And being okay with like maybe not meeting them sometimes is I guess what I'm trying to say. And like learning from that in a positive way, rather than being like super demoralized that you can't do this V6 slab in Red Rocks. And being like, that's okay. What am I like learning from this? And then moving forward and being like, how can I do this better? Why am I not doing this? Like what went wrong? And then learning from that experience and maybe basing your training or whatever you're doing off of that. That was a total rabbit hole of just like up and down, but I hope you could kind of follow what I was saying.
Oh man, I love it. Yeah, dude, there's I try to borrow, steal, whatever from as many other sports as I can. I have been following CrossFit for a long time. There's a CrossFitter named Noah Olson, whose motto for a minute was "happy but hungry," because I think there's this tendency in sports to have this, win at all costs, head down and grind, suffer for it. Gotta push yourself to the limit, and there's no such thing as success unless it's like the highest. And he's just kind of a happy guy, but that doesn't mean that he can't want to improve. You can be happy with where you are and be happy enough with the process of improvement that you can still have goals for yourself. Happy and content doesn't mean or satisfied doesn't mean that you don't also have goals. And being okay with, like, man, I'm proud of myself for sticking on this V6 that was
Yeah.
harder for me than the V12, because it is harder for me to put my ego
Yeah.
aside than it is for me to crimp. Yeah, happy but hungry, I think, is a really great motto for climbers, especially in a sport where we're supposed to be enjoying our time.
It's hard to sometimes, Sometimes you go out, especially in the Northeast, it's like 4 degrees out, and your skin's falling apart on these like razor edges, and it's rough. But if you can find enjoyment in that, you can kind of find enjoyment in anything.
So let's shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about the Northeast local comp scene, or let's say
Yeah.
non USAC competitive scene in general. You were just in our feat to strength finals, super fun as always. When it comes to you deciding kind of what comps to go for
Yeah.
throughout the year, when you are thinking about this comp was fun and I want to go back next year, or this one was kind of a bust, what are the things, maybe a few things that make you really excited to go to a comp, and things that you think that organizers should prioritize, and maybe what are some things that stain a comp experience for you, or make it not worth going back to that one the next year?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so many different factors, always, right? Something that's been a problem in climbing for as long as I've even been alive is like paying professional athletes is like such an important topic, which is like a really awkward one too. A lot of the time, climbers don't make money like F1 drivers do. I mean, obviously, but as the first thing that came to my mind, like baseball players, basketball, it's just not as developed as a sport. But I think to get a lot of people out to comps, you kind of need that like cash prize. And one of my favorite things to look for when I'm going to a comp is knowing who's going. And especially when there's cash prizes, people pull up. A lot of people go because it's not as often as you think that a comp will host a really good prize pool, or maybe it has really good sponsors, maybe it has like all these things. But I think a comp like Feats of Strength, they do it right. Like everything, yeah. Shout out Tyler, best MC in the game, right? But I don't know. You need to have the hype. You need the DJ. You need the people. There needs to be people around. You need like the music. There's so many different factors what makes a good comp, which are kind of hard to put in words. And even if you haven't competed before, it's like I would encourage anyone to compete, even if you're not like ultra psyched on maybe getting first, or maybe you don't think you can. Show up. There's so many different categories. You don't have to do open. You don't have to be doing 360 paddle dynos across the wall. There's like all levels of climbing, and you can totally just go and have fun, meet people. The best part about it for me is the social aspect, I think. I get to see these people who maybe I don't see like more than once a year at like A, B, or C comp, right? Like there's only so many gyms, especially that will host. But it's so good to meet people in the climbing community, and that's how you really like get outside too, meeting all these people and like getting connected.
Yeah, I was just talking to Bryce about this. I think one of the positive elements of climbing in the Northeast is that because access to outdoor areas isn't necessarily the best advertised thing, or not always the most legal. It's not that there's a lot of places in the Northeast that are climbing happens there, but it's not something that is part of the advertised activities, but it's not allowed. Anyway, you really need to know people to get climbing outside in the Northeast. And I think what you're touching on, the community element of a competition, should be valued kind of above all else.
Yeah.
Making sure that there's plenty of stickers for people to have, or things like that. Dude, stickers. People love stickers.
Yeah.
We couldn't get it done this year, but temporary tattoos is always my big thing. I want everybody to have a neck tat of the comp in all the photos. It goes so hard. Man, things like that go such a long way to creating like a really fun, memorable experience. Actually, on Climbing Noise coming out soon, I wrote kind of a top to bottom list of everything that I could think of for uh, the things that I think are important for a gym to know when hosting a comp. So things like making stickers or making sure that the setters have extra forerunners and extra coffee. To make sure that you have lights for finals.
Little things.
Like make the finals a show. And to circle it back around to your point, remember that open competitors are your entertainment. They are your product in that finals. Make it worth it for them to show up. Snacks and water and ISO, like actually give them a cash purse, things like that.
Yeah.
Circling on to ISO or be outside of money as a high level athlete, as somebody who is going to be the marketing material for a gym when you're in finals. That's their marketing material for the next year. What are the things that you really enjoy for kind of like for a gym to provide for you, or what are the things that you let's say, what's your wish list in an ISO? What tools do you hope that they have available for you?
Actually, I was like thinking about this just as you were going on, like what makes a good comp. Like there needs to be like a checklist almost. And I think caffeine is a big one. After qualifiers, most comps, they will have like qualifying round, maybe get like a 4 or 5 hour rest, like at most. But then you got to go straight into another session of wicked hard bouldering, and having some caffeine does wonders, especially if you got to drive home after, But yeah, like water, foods, like snacks, maybe like just good area to warm up is really good. Feats of strength, good example. We had the decoy board. Shout out decoy holds. Amazing. So good for warming up. Holds of all sizes. I mean, there was slab. You need all kinds of different ways to warm up. So maybe like bands to warm up your like tendons, muscles, like just good area, Fingerboard, a little bit of everything.
Our number one answer, I asked this of everybody. Our number one answer is make sure that there's hangboards. So I tried to just like throw a bunch of tension blocks into the
that's always a good one.
The ISO for you guys.
No, that always helps. Yeah.
Is there anything I think the kind of more critical eye that I usually take towards competitions is having to do with format. We see at a lot of comps either a 3 boulder finals sometimes or a 4 boulder. I think for team trials there was just a 5 boulder round for qualifiers. Do you have a preferred number for a finals?
I have kind of a hot take maybe. I think the more boulders the better, which is hard to do in like a logistical standpoint, of course. I'm a big fan of the 4 boulder final rounds of just like maybe flash format, whatever it is on site, to really decide who's like having the best day or who's the best there, whatever you want to call it. I think the more boulders there are, the better it is, because you get to see all these different styles and you get to see all these like really like these nuances of like what people are really good at, which I think is really cool. So I think maybe like an 8 boulder round would be even better. It'd be brutal though, right? But there'd have to be some like formatting worked in to see how that would really work. And of course, I can always dream, but
I mean, 8 boulders from a physical standpoint for the competitors is just so much,
Yeah.
But I like testing people's fitness. That's always a fun thing for me. As you were saying that, I was thinking, I wish that more competitions would share a boulder in the finals round for the different categories. So we have usually male / non-binary and women / non-binary, or if we have just a non-binary category, it would be really cool to have a visual representation of the overlap in ability and style and whatever, and see female or non-binary competitors kind of outclass the male or non-binary competitors. Everybody get really psyched for that, and it, depending on the boulder, like definitely would happen. When it comes to the qualifying round, we see more and more a push towards the modified red point style, at least for open, where we have 6 to 10 designated boulders with zones to try to create more separation in the round. Are you a fan of the classic red point style with the a ton of boulders, or do you like this the trend towards modified red point?
I think I'm a big fan of a lot of boulders, like maybe 10 boulders, low zone. You can make as much separation as you want. I'd even go like hyper specific if I was hosting a comp. Maybe do like each hold has its own point. That gets like really hard to score, but we don't live in a perfect world. But like I think that is a really good way to weed out who are the finalists, who like worked hard to be here, right? Like that's kind of what works. And I think that's something that's been tested. But I would be interested to see like different like perspectives, try new things. Recently, I went to the Cliffs Cup, which had this really, or was it? No, it wasn't the Cliffs. Wrong gym. The goat, the goat, goat showdown. I want to say it was called. Super interesting. Normal qualifier round. I think it was 10 boulders, maybe 8. But then it was like knockout style. So all of the finalists were put into a bracket, and you just get like go against the person that was next to you, and then you maybe go on, maybe you don't. But it was like really interesting, and it was kind of fun to try something new. And maybe I had a good time because I placed decently. But I could also see it being like really brutal if you're like you think you can maybe get podium, and then you just like slip and get knocked out in the first round. Like anything can happen, which is like cool, but really cutthroat and brutal.
Yeah, man, I love the on the Beta Breakers channel. I actually went to Goat and sat down with Chris, and we talked about their experimentations with different formats. And I love the fact that Goat is one of the gyms that's really stepping outside of this is what the format is. They host a ton of USAC comps. They hosted an NACS Cup lead comp.
Yeah.
Where Chris Sharma was in
That was
finals.
sick.
So sick. And then they also have this brand new finals format that they tried, had some hiccups with, and didn't give up and go back to the classic. They fixed it for the next year. They gave a better product. I love when people are experimenting. And actually, while I've been here in Amsterdam, I've competed at a bunch of the local gyms here, and there's this awesome gym scene here. It's really cool. Shout out Monk.
Wow.
That's the shirt I'm wearing. Really rad gym. But one of the gyms, their scoring system was every boulder it's like 20 boulders that everybody has access to. Every boulder is worth 1,000 points, and your score on that boulder is 1,000 divided by the total number of people that do it. So if only 2 people do the boulder, you get 500 points to that boulder. If 10 people do it, you get 100. I thought that was so cool.
It's really cool.
And it really gives a boost to people that are willing to do the hardest things, or the people who are willing to do the lowest percentage things. It made it feel like everybody had access to the full comp, and everybody was kind of fighting for the points that are available. Everybody wants like their slice of the pie. I ended up winning that comp because it was set up to like V7. But
really?
I'm proud of myself.
Awesome.
It was super fun.
Just to like go off what you were saying, something that I think is really, or that hasn't been done yet to my knowledge, but I think me and Isaac Leff, super notorious Northeast crusher, we were talking about this in ISO one time, and we were saying how cool it would be to have a 2 boulder final, but it's not flash format, it's not on site, it's just like a V13 boulder, and all of the finalists just go out and sesh this boulder. And it'd be really hard to, I think, logistically be like, this is something that someone out of this group can do. Because maybe it would be the most entertaining to watch, but from like a climber standpoint, who maybe like an outdoor climbing perspective is like, that is what's cool. Like working really hard to send 1 boulder problem, or 2 in that case.
Yeah, dude, something like that to me would be so cool. We'll see what comes of this. It's Valhalla's 20th birthday this year, in 2025. And I said that it would be really cool to have kind of a pro exhibition where we set some really like find the oldest holds we have, kind of like Boulder 3 that you had at Feats of Strength Finals. Find the oldest holds we have, no volumes, tape on the holds, not of one set, mixed colors, just tape, and try to just set some old school 2005 nastiness and invite some really strong climbers to just come and put on a show for us and see what it looks like to watch the people of this day and age step back into 2005. Block Shop up in Canada just ran a comp like that, and it was so cool and reminded me of when I first started competing. And it's like this awesome nostalgia trip. So
That's awesome.
if that's happening, you're on the short list. Just know we want you there.
You get me on the list, man. That's my favorite style of climbing. Most of my training growing up, I'm super fortunate to have a home wall, but I don't think there's a single hold in my collection that is probably before 2010, I want to say. Everything's like really greasy. You gotta like really pull down. And I'm not sure if you're familiar. Most people are definitely not familiar with what the dojo is. Like total hole in the wall climbing gym in Western Mass, which has been around for probably well over 20 years. But super old hold selection. It's just a small room in an refurbished mill building. And it's technically an office space. I shouldn't say too much because I don't know. I don't want them to get shut down. But it's super sick. Just old school training style. You set your own boulders. You just leave them up, and they get taken down once every 4 months or so. And everyone just sets some really hard stuff on these really old holds, which is my opinion.
Dude, I love it. I love new holds too, but man, there's something that just like gets me psyched about like especially old school pinches. I think pinches have taken a step back as a lot of other holds have taken a step forward, but pinches specifically, man, like some of those like fat, greasy, like just how strong is your thumb? Like I love that stuff.
That's the real like test piece. Is how much can you pinch on an old greasy pinch?
So sick.
Or how much weight can you pull on an old pinch?
I love it. Dude, we should wrap up. It's almost been an hour. We'll link all your stuff, but where can people find you online?
Instagram's probably the best way. _ Colin Squire _ nice and simple. Yeah, anyone that wants to like climb outside, if you need like locations, I know it's hard to like find info on the Northeast especially, but I'm all for getting other people outside. Anyone who needs like help getting outside, who needs like a point in the right direction, never like hesitate to reach out to me. Or I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would say the same thing, but I love seeing other people get out and send their projects. So like, yeah, send me a DM. If you like crimps, I'll put you on any kind of good project.
I love it. I think it's that's super kind of you, and I appreciate it. And I think it goes a long way for keeping stewardship of the local areas alive. We don't want a repeat of Bradley going on. So when somebody like you can take people out and show them how to go in small groups and be respectful of trails and all that stuff, it goes a long way. So thank you for doing that. Any companies that are supporting you or people that you want to plug or shout out, anything like that?
I gotta just turn around real quick.
Oh, snap.
Virtue Climbing in the works still. I can't say too much, but keep an eye out. A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes.
Sick.
I want to shout out Pusher, super good brand. Holds, clothing, all your best stuff. Faza brushes, best in the game. If you want a brush, get a Faza brush. I'm not sponsored or anything, but they make good brushes, and I know what quality is. Yeah, shout out all the local gyms for doing comps. I think that's one of the biggest things. Shout out the local gyms. Yeah,
we love especially in the Northeast, and as somebody who works for one of the big chains now, it's maybe a dying art, but I do think that the gym is the lifeblood of the local community. Especially in the more secluded areas like in Hadley where there's not 10 gyms on every block. it's important to recognize that the people who run the gyms are the purveyors of the community, and that's awesome. Listen, shout out to climbingnoise.com for all of the competition information you need. We always love to shout out Beta Breakers for live streaming every single comp. Make sure that you please go subscribe to the Beta Breakers YouTube channel. That's BETA Breakers with a Z at the end. And follow Colin on Instagram. It's so entertaining. And I think that's it. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one. Colin, thank you again for being here. And
thank you.
We're out.
Thanks again to Colin for sitting down with me, and thank you for watching. Make sure to check out climbingnoise.com for every climbing competition all over North America. Be sure to check out the Beta Breakers YouTube channel. Subscribe over there to catch live streams of almost every competition across North America as well. Thank you to Basim for live streaming all of that. It's a ton of work. Feel free to subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.